Everyone thinks they know everything about their parents. I thought I did too. So I was 13 arguing with my childhood friend about siblings. He thought that having a sister was the worst. They would always argue and fight, complaining about something the other one did. But for me, having a sibling was the dream. To me, it was someone you have known your whole life and a friend you could count on. And as far as I knew, I didn't have any. That was until one day I was arguing with my friend and my dad walked into the room and said the most shocking words I've ever heard in my life. "Oh, you have siblings," and then walked out of the room, saying nothing else. For me, a 13-year-old, this news was crazy. My friend and I instantly followed him, starting to ask questions about these new siblings I never knew I had. Questions like, where have they been? What are their names? How old are they? After a few days of constantly bothering my dad, I finally figured out I had 3 siblings, a sister and 2 brothers. Then, after a few more days of nagging at my dad, I got on the phone with one of them. His name was John, and he told me my other brother's name was Dan. But what am I supposed to say to a guy I've never met before? The conversation was really slow, and I didn't say much. After some more digging, I learned they lived across the country in Southern California, right on the border, and that they were step siblings that I didn't know I ever had. But that didn't change my desire to figure out more about them. I also learned that they knew I existed, but I never knew they did. Every time my dad would be on the phone and I was curious and asked who it was, he would say the names John, Dan, my sister's name Chanel, but I never knew who these names were. I never knew who they applied to. Then I figured it out. It was them the whole time. He just never told me who. I eventually got to meet my brothers John and Dan, which was cool, but the problem was that I didn't know what they looked like. When we looked for them at the airport, I walked by them multiple times, thinking they were random people waiting for family members like me. When I eventually figured out what they looked like, I was ecstatic. I loved hanging out with them. We played video games and messing around with different people and things all as a group. Together we would have a great time telling jokes and laughing. They were truly great people to me, especially when I was so young. However, the coolest one was my sister, who I finally got to meet when I was almost 15. My family flew out to California to meet her and my grandpa for the first time, and she was so funny and nice and had the best personality. Her storytelling skills were amazing, and I could talk to her about anything. It would be so entertaining, and it was the best time. Every moment hanging out with her in the car or going to the store was the best, and her humor has influenced mine in the best ways possible. But when it was time to leave California, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to leave her and maybe not see her again for more years. Eventually, I got all of my siblings together in the same place for my dad's 60th birthday, and when he saw all of his kids together in one spot, he almost cried. It was the closest I've ever seen him to crying. This was extremely important. I have never seen him shed a single tear until almost that day. I haven't seen my siblings in years now, and I can't remember the last time I talked to my brothers or what they looked like. I talk to my sister sometimes, and we always have the best conversations, but when thinking back to the argument I had with my friend about siblings, I had no idea how much would change from that time to a few years later. My dream really came to life about having siblings. Even though we don't talk much and I can't see them because they live across the country, I'm still so happy that I even had the opportunity to meet them and to have the dream come true about having siblings.